Greetings there, everybody. How are you doing today? Hope all is well. As you can see, I am currently wearing a jacket, but it's not just any jacket. This also happens to be an American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, one of his windbreakers. So why am I wearing that, you might ask? Why in the world am I on this, quite rainy day wearing this wrestling merch? What has changed in the last couple of months? Well, for one, I have become a huge WWE fan, and two, I decided I wanted to start making content pertaining to WWE. So, without further ado, I figured what a better way to kick off talking about WWE content and just my fandom overall. Yes, my favorite wrestler to this day is Cody Rhodes. By far, he is the one that got me into it. I thank that man for just his creativity, his greatness on the mic, and other stuff. But this is not me glazing Cody Rhodes. This is just me talking about Night of Champions, and then just predictions for Monday Night Raw. So, without further ado, I have my notes in front of me. Of course, if there's different edits that you notice in this video, that is okay. And we are learning here. This is brand new. So, this Saturday, well, it was at 1 p.m. if you're Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. at Pacific Time. And then, of course, you had Night of Champions, which was in, I believe you pronounce it Riyadh, I'm pretty sure it was that, in Saudi Arabia. So, obviously a big deal. Saudi Arabia, very wealthy country, has a lot of money going in there, a lot of oil, a lot of whole different exports and stuff like that. Excuse me, that being said, they have had a lot of events there already. And of course, Night of Champions was no different. So we had 6 matches in total, which I felt like was a healthy dose. First, we had Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. And we also had Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. Then we had Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. Then we had some announcements talking about Survivor Series, which will be in San Diego. And we had Royal Rumble. That's also going to be in Riyadh in January. Not sure how I feel about that. Maybe more on that another time. The 4th match was Jacob Fatu versus Solo. And then, of course, the 5th was Jade Cargill versus Asuka. And, of course, our main event for that night, which was CM Punk versus John Cena. Let me just go ahead and give you some of my notes for each of these. I don't want to make this a long video, but I want to make it something. And, of course, you guys can react and give me some feedback if this is what if you want to see more of this. And if you don't, I'm still looking to make more content of it. So maybe things you would want me more so to talk about. So let's start out with Orton versus Rhodes. In each match, I'm going to give either like a 1 to 5 rating. Now, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton are my favorite wrestlers. So we go Cody, Orton, LA Knight, Jacob Fatu, and then I would probably say like Braun Breaker, because I just love the dynamic and the character of each of these wrestlers. First, I want to say my prediction was that Cody would win. I think it was pretty obvious that he was going to win King of the Ring, and he did, because obviously you want him to go on and face John Cena at SummerSlam. So I felt like that was a given. If Orton would have won, I would have been okay with that, but of course I prefer Cody. So it's just, I want QB1, as he said, he's getting the ball back. So firstly, the Saudi crowd, they loved Orton. I would say for the most part, they loved Cody. Orton was kind of doing this whole thing where he was kind of like favoring his back. It was kind of just a little weird, something wasn't going well with his back. One of my favorite moments in the match, we had a Cody cutter, and I knew this was going to happen because he had already done like 2 of them. I knew that like on the 3rd one, Cody was going to go for like a high Cody cutter, and it was going to go to an RKO. The RKO was like the perfect counter to it. Then we had the top turnbuckle, which kind of hinted maybe at a heel turn for Orton, and also we had some heel turn, almost like indicators for Cody. Of course, Cody's mentioned stuff on social media, so I'm like, I personally don't want him to turn heel, but hey, you know what? He's a great man. He can do what he wants. So I just put here heel turn for either of them coming soon. We also had a promo at the end that showed love to Jey Uso and Orton, but again, quote unquote, he said he will be getting the ball back. So he's the self-proclaimed QB1 of the WWE. So he wants it, or he wants the ball back. So 1-0 is how I was for that. Next was Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. Personally, my prediction was Raquel Rodriguez with help by Roxanne Perez, which I felt would catapult them into the women's tag team division because, of course, Liv Morgan is injured. So I'm sitting here going, all right, well, this, the Hana bomb into the table that we saw, I believe, on Monday Night Raw to Rhea Ripley. Here, I'm assuming it's going to be, just going to be an absolute pretty decent match. What I found interesting, and I knew this was going to happen, was them going to Saudi. Of course, the women were covering up. I mentioned that because, money does talk to a certain extent. That's all I'm going to say about it. But it just shows people how kind of clueless we can be to certain cultural norms. So we always want to be aware of that. Anyways, Rhea versus Rodriguez. I had Rodriguez winning this match. Of course, Rhea won, so I was 1-1 in my predictions thus far. Perez, I was right, and many people were too, that Perez would interrupt to help. I loved the power bomb from Raquel to Rhea. I think their dynamic is great. What I found funny, this is just me, is that both of them had like an R name. Even Roxanne has that R name, but you had Raquel Rodriguez, and then you had Rhea Ripley. I messed that up. Yeah, Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley. And then, Perez showed up. Rhea riptide off a tape. That was crazy. Like, that was a good finish. So, sorry, I didn't even give the rating for Cody Rhodes versus Orton. That one I would give a 4. Rhea versus Rodriguez, I would give a 3 out of 5. And it was just more so the ending, like the interruption. I felt it could have been done so much better. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. They're looking probably to push them tag team anyways. Thirdly, we have Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn. I was really, really looking forward to this match because I love the dynamic of Kross and Zayn. I will give this a 3.5 because there were moments that could have been so much better. And I predicted that Kross would win. I was hoping he would win. I don't think it affected him whether or not he won or not, but Sami Zayn won. So I was 1-2 on my predictions by this point. The crowd loved Sami. I didn't think, after that I was like, yeah, Sami's probably going to win. So my prediction is already in the trash. The ending was okay with the high kick that he does. I'm forgetting all of a sudden what it's called. Obviously, people know what haluva kick. That's what it's called. His haluva kick there at the end on Kross, as Kross was going towards the other turnbuckle in the corner, was coming then to body slam him again. Then they finished it, and it was just like, you have so much potential here. Like, what are we doing here? So I was just like, So 3.5 out of 5. Of course, then we had the announcement of Survivor Series. I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be pretty good. That's in November. Royal Rumble in January at Riyadh. And then the next match, and I'm just going to say it, this might be a hot take. The Solo Sikoa Jacob Fatu match, I knew was going to be a good match. I could just tell. They're both very talented individuals. This was the match that catapulted Jacob Fatu into my top 5. I had already liked watching him. I was kind of iffy about him the first time I saw him. The hype is real. Like, put some respect on my boy Jacob Fatu's name. Like, the Samoan Werewolf is a grown man, and he is a beast. So, that being said, this match, 5 out of 5. This is the only match that got a 5 out of 5 on this list for Night Champions. Because, let me tell you this, the interruptions, they made sense. And I'll get more on interruptions and shenanigans later. But I'm just saying, WWE, it doesn't have to always be the bloodline that makes it look good. But come on now. Come on now. So I predicted that Solo, initially coming into it, I thought for a second Fatu, but as soon as the event was started, I was like, no, there's no way. Like, it's going to be Solo. So I just, major change. I was just like, we're going to go with Solo Sikoa winning the match. And that was basically at his entrance that I made that prediction. So I was kind of iffy, and then I changed. Normally don't do that, but Solo, of course, did win. He's now the United States champion. And that needed to happen. Let me just put it this way. That needed to happen. This feud between Fatu and Sikoa is perfect because you had everything building up to Money in the Bank, and then of course Fatu uttered those famous words, "I hate you, Solo," which was just, I mean, wonderful stuff. But what gets me is how good a wrestler both of them are. Like, their mic skills are pretty good. Like, honestly, I think we really, really need to put some respect on both Solo and Fatu. Because all of a sudden, Solo, it's like, we pretend like he can't wrestle, but, like, he was a beast. Like, he is. And that Samoan spike there, and oof, oof, oof. Okay, but I'm going to say this. One of my favorite moments. We already had Fatu just going crazy on the other guys. And then he does the pop-up Samoan on Solo Sikoa. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. What a move. I mean, the push, pull up, back, dog, come on now. You got to be kidding me. Jacob Fatu is one of the best wrestlers, like, in-ring performers in the WWE. It's not a question. It blows me away. So, let's see here. I was 1, 2, 3. I was 1 and 2. So then this put me 2 and 2. So the tiebreaker, well, I was hoping it would have been Jade and Asuka. So yeah, again, Fatu versus Solo. Love it. I mean, the interruption by JC Mateo, and then you had Tonga Loa, and then, of course, you had the brother to Tama Tonga, who I'm not too much familiar with. They say he was 7 foot. I'm like, nah, he ain't 7 foot. I looked, he's like 6'8". So I love how the WWE and the kayfabe embellishes everything. Anyways, that would probably be my only takeaway or my one thing I didn't like. But anyways, the feud's gonna be good. We'll probably see more Jimmy Uso. We'll probably see maybe a introduction of Fatu's brother Zilla. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Next was the Yawn match. The Yawn match. The Queen of the Ring. And I thought it was going to be a good match. I couldn't have been further wrong. It was Jade versus Asuka. Listen, I have nothing against Jade. I think she can wrestle. Her mic skills, like 2 out of 5. Just being honest. And I've watched some promos by her. Not impressed. I think Bianca Belair does a better job cutting a promo. Ripley cuts a wonderful promo. Asuka, dude, she's just got aura, for lack of a better term. Let me just be Gen Z here for a second, which I am, but Asuka was pretty much, I felt like, the favorite to win, and I mean, she lost, so that puts me at basically 2 and 3 out of the 5 matches, so we're not doing too well. I just gotta say, the match sucked